Hey there, guys. Sean here from WinBeta, and welcome to episode 23 of the WinBeta Podcast for the week of July 10th, 2015. With me is co-host Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Hello. How are we?
And this week we'll be talking about all sorts of stories. Some weeks not so big. This week, huge. We have an RTM candidate that was compiled. We got the Surface Pro 4, which we got some more details about. Could be for the Surface Pro 5. We'll get into that later. Groove Music rebranding, social media backlash, and then probably the headline story, or the biggest story this week, is Windows Phone changes, company realignments, layoffs that we thought might be coming, but now the numbers here and some more of the details. How many phones we're going to get, Lumia devices future, Windows Phone future, poll results, giant chunk of the podcast, and then we'll go into some littler things like Project Westminster and some little bits and bobs before the end of today's show. So thank you for joining us, and we'll just dive right in there. Actually, Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm not bad. How are you, Sean?
I'm just sorry. I got so excited with the intro. I just wanted to dive into the news, but we should probably sound.
You know what? That's understandable.
It's big news day.
It is.
So you actually have the new one that's compiled now, running on your Surface 3 because you clean installed?
Well, let's talk about this. Today, an interesting build of Windows 10 leaked. Build 10,176, which is the first Windows 10 RTM candidate. Now, RTM is happening very soon, next week. It was supposed to happen this week, but due to the builds they are testing not passing all of their tests, they moved the deadline to next week because they needed to. So, RTM should be compiled next week. The build that leaked today is an RTM candidate, so it's not the official build. It's a build that could be the candidate if it passed all the tests, which I don't believe it did. So the build that leaked is Chinese simplified. This is one of the commenters, so if you're an English-speaking person like me, you're going to have a great time trying to use it. And I mean, it's identical to the official release this week, which was 10,166. The only differences are the branding. It says Windows 10 instead of just Windows in the Windows version dialog and in system properties. And the watermark on the desktop is gone, which is to be expected because normal consumers aren't going to want to have their desktop annoyed with the build number in the bottom right corner because they don't really need to know it anyway. So yes, that's all good and fine. There's no new changes in the RTM candidate, if that's what you was expecting, which is, at this point, I've said it countless times now, at this point, the RTM, or all the builds that are being compiled up until the Windows 10 RTM will be identical, because of them just simply squashing bugs. They are no longer adding features to the operating system because they can't, because they need to focus on making sure all the features that are going into the RTM are actually stable enough for public use. They did do the RTM, I guess, what word am I looking for here? The way they compile the RTM is very interesting. They usually do it so it's a multiple of 16 and 100, but it seems they've gotten rid of the 100 rule, so it's just a multiple of 16 now. So they've been jumping builds every 16. So it's been 176, then 19. Was it 192? I can't remember. It was 19 something, then it was 1208, 1224, and then I guess it'll jump again and again and again. When they find an RTM, I believe they will take that build, recompile it for the public, which will be very interesting. And then it goes out to insiders on July 29th, which will be fun.
It'll be done, but you can't have it till later.
Yeah. I mean, if I was in charge of getting builds out to the public, I would make sure the RTM is sent to insiders as soon as the build was available, so testing can begin and other stuff. I don't understand why they're not giving it out straight away.
Yeah, I agree.
It baffles me. I guess that maybe they're going to surprise us. Maybe they said, "Oh, you're not having it until July 29th," just so they can turn around and go, "Hey guys, we were only joking." That's my dream.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Zach, I don't get to do this much. I have build news for you. There's a new mobile build. It leaked during the no, it's official, I think, because Gabe released it. Came out during the podcast.
Did it? When?
Apparently, that's what everyone's saying in the comments.
I will check this. Give me 2 seconds. I can confirm if legitimate.
Look at that. Everyone's saying it's new builds during the podcast just to mess with us because he waited for us to start live.
Oh, yeah.
Ha ha! Look at that.
Guess what? I can do live on the podcast then, if that's the case.
Well, why don't you start cracking downloading that, and we'll move stall. Maybe you can get it by the end of the episode.
God damn it, Gabe. Epic troll.
So now we record live for all the people on the rebroadcast to be like, but I already saw Zach's video. I'm like, I know, but now I have to stall so we can get this whole thing started.
Do we have someone working on the site?
Probably.
We need someone to get on that.
I'm sure they're quite aware of it.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
But yeah, so breaking news. How often we record live for 1 hour a week, and we actually have a breaking news segment. That's pretty rare.
Also, my phone's telling me I'm up to date. That's a complete lie. How do I change this?
So there you go.
Do I have to? I'm going to have to. All right, go on. Can you take on the seconds? I was done with the RTM stuff.
I will go ahead with the second story then. So we had a story this week on the Surface Pro 4 might not arrive until 2016. It's a big rumor alert story. The facts are there, but there's a lot of speculation about this. Honestly, it could be referring to the Surface Pro 5. We're not really sure. But long story short, could be arriving next year. Let me get in some of the details. As I said, chalk this up as a rumor of a rumor. But Business Korea Magazine and Engadget Japan reported information about new high-end SSDs, 256 gigabyte SSDs that use Samsung's NVMe technology. So they can reportedly can transfer data at 2 gigabytes per second, which is over 3 times as fast as the current Surface Pro 3s, which is clocked in at 600 megabytes per second. So that would be a substantial jump. That's kind of the fact that those numbers are there. And then there are reportedly 20 million SSDs that are being scheduled to ship in the second half of next year. But that's from a combination of, that's not just Microsoft, from what I understand, that's a combination of multiple companies ordering them. There's a chance that this could be for the Surface Pro 4, though, as I said, could be referring to the Surface Pro 5. So we just kind of talked in the article, and obviously here as well, why they might do this. And I guess the biggest thing for me, and for Zach when he's done with the build thing, is...
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know. Is the Surface Pro 4, to me, has to be a pretty big jump from the Surface Pro 3, because the Surface Pro 3, first one to actually do, I'd say, well. I have a Surface Pro 2. I personally like it, but from a business perspective, didn't make money. Surface Pro 3, big name, started getting that Surface name out there, successful enough that now you see the brand attached to the Surface Hub, as well as, people wanting it on other devices. So the Surface Pro 3 has great specs, new form factor, it's silver and shiny. People like it. It is silver. Well, the other one's
shiny.
The other ones were black. Surface Pro 3 is silver and shiny. In any event, I might not cover it up with my carbon fiber skin that I have on my Surface Pro 2. So yeah, there you go. So I think the Surface Pro 4, they don't want to just shove that in there when the Surface Pro 3 is doing really well, unless it has some sort of major advantage. Because then, if it's back to school and you say back to school, but it has Windows Hello and it has Continuum. Sweet, Zach's working on that build. Bam.
It's working. It's alive.
And all that thing. I could definitely see why they'd put it off, but we've also heard rumors that it could be coming this year from a Surface Pro 4. So, I don't know. Zach, what do you think? Where do you think that these fall, rumor-wise?
Well, the Surface Pro 4 stuff. I mean, the Surface Pro 4 is already overdue, right?
Well, it came out about this time last year, didn't it? Or a little bit earlier? It's been out over a year now?
Yeah, it's been over a year, so the Surface Pro 4 is technically overdue. I would be very surprised if the Surface Pro 4 came next year.
So you think that the Surface Pro 5 and then a 4 will come out this year?
Yeah, a 4 should come out this year. I would be very shocked if it didn't.
I know some people have wanted them to line up the Pro and non-Pro lines, but I don't think they have to be lined up.
I mean, I'm not really I love the Surface Pro 3. I reviewed it and I loved it. But the Surface 3, the normal Surface 3 is a great device for just what I use it as. And it confuses me as to why they didn't release because it's going to be confusing now, because the Surface 3 comes out, and then the Surface Pro 4 will come out, and then half a year later the Surface 4 will come out, and then half a year later after that, and the Surface Pro 5 will come out. I feel like they've done that wrong. They should have done it. They should have either released them both at the same time, or done the normal one first, then the Pro version second, because I don't know. I guess I don't know. But yeah,
I think people will be confused because they'll sit there and say, someone will walk into a store and say, "I want the Surface 4." And they'll be like, "No.
Yeah.
There's a Surface 3, Surface Pro 4." People will be confused. I can understand that. But I do think that they need to make some jumps. The biggest ones here, I think, for the 4 need to be Windows Hello and some of the other high-res or high-tech specs for Windows 10. Needs to work with every feature Windows 10 has. Maybe except if it doesn't have a GPU. If there's anything, obviously, with a component it doesn't have. But as many as they can get in there need to work. So I think this might be for the Surface Pro 5, but it's great. 3 times the speed. Who doesn't like 3 times the speed? You could run XSplit and the comment stream at the same time.
Hey, my PC's good enough, barely.
You can get. We can buy like a $3,000 or $4,000 device.
Look, I don't understand why my PC
podcast.
struggles to stream, use Skype, and use an exploit at the same time. It shouldn't, but it does. I mean, it's doing all right now. It's 75% CPU. That's not too bad.
In any event, so there's that. So yeah, Surface Pro 4 stuff. Zach, he's getting that build. Hopefully, if we stall long enough, can happen during the podcast. If not.
There's a horrible bug with this build that makes the phone extremely hot. Oh, now I've had a thing crash. Oops. Things are going wrong, Sean.
Oh, do you want to talk about Groove Music while you deal with your phone falling apart?
Oh, it's completely right. Yes, let's talk about Groove Music. Microsoft did a drastic thing this week, and everybody reacted as if the world was ending. But Xbox Music is gone and Groove Music is in. It's the same service. It does the exact same things as Xbox Music did, except the word Xbox has been taken away and replaced with the word Groove. That's it. They've renamed the service because consumers found it confusing. People that I know, just normal, your average Joe people, always thought that Xbox Music was a service for the Xbox and that they needed an Xbox to actually use it, and that's not true at all. I mean, I may have an Xbox, but you can use Xbox Music without an Xbox device or an Xbox Live account. So, I mean, the fact that they named it Xbox Music in the first place is peculiar because it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Groove, because I mean the word groove is associated with music, being that your groove is dancing technically.
One note was taken already.
Yes, one note was. That would have been a good one.
So they can't do one note.
That would have been very good.
That's used. I know. It's me with my marketing stuff. But it's already taken. So I'm gonna, because if you saw me earlier this week, you would have seen me with all the tech media. We were so Groove Music. I don't care that it's a weird name to some people. That's fine. That's their opinion. Obviously, everyone can disagree. But I'm going to go through some names that people now think are fine. Chrome, Safari, Google Play. Google Play? That's not even creative. It's just Google Play. That's what they named something. You got Surface, Mac. You got all sorts of names for companies. And then there's also a music service called Groove Shark that's already popular that has the word groove in the name. People thought that they bought it because the names were the same, right?
Right.
So people are like, Groove, this is a stupid name. Any more stupid than Chrome when it came out, or Google when it became a search engine? Or Spotify.
What has Spotify got to do with music?
What's a Pandora? That's like a bracelet. Like you get a company, it's like a jewelry company in America, Pandora. It's just not a problem to me, but I know people got all upset. That, like I said, I know you can disagree. Like, that's your right.
No,
I'm just confused.
Do not disagree with us.
No,
I
just don't understand the backlash. I just don't get it. Like, there are lots of names that sound stupid, and apparently Groove Shark's not a thing anymore, by the way. There are lots of things that sound silly, and then they're popular. Xerox probably sounded silly until it became ubiquitous with copiers. So, I mean, Blu-ray, all sorts of names. They sound silly, then they're the number one thing, and no one cares. Especially true with music. There's Beats. There's Tidal. What's Tidal have to do with music?
Exactly.
But it's fine.
I tell you what, Team Gnome raises a good point. The reason people were mad is because it's the third name change the service has received. It was Zune, then Xbox Music, now it's Groove Music. What will it be, as Team Gnome says, what will it be next year?
I don't know, but if it helps people buy it, I don't care. No, you're right, though, Team Gnome. That's a good point. It is changed. I don't know. I think people want to be upset about things connected to Microsoft and probably Google and Apple too. Just like big names, so people want to be outraged about stuff. And there's real stuff to be outraged about. 8,000 people are looking for work, almost 8,000. You know, you might think that Windows Phone's going down the drain, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute. But like Groove, it makes sense to me. I think people honestly thought that they needed an Xbox to use Groove Music.
They did. They
or to use
did.
Xbox Music. I honestly think people say, just like Xbox Video, I think people thought they have to have an Xbox, which now it's renamed Movies and TV, or Film and TV. If you're in the UK, I think Films and TV. Which makes sense, because Xbox Video is fine. I use it because then I have my movie library on my phone, my tablet, someone else's computer, whatever. Like that, I personally use it. I know other people use different things. But some people think you need an Xbox because it has Xbox in the name. If they had a PlayStation Music, don't you think people would assume you need a PlayStation for it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you said PlayStation Music. I immediately thought you meant for the actual PlayStation.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I'm
if
in
you
the
had
tech
PlayStation
industry, so...
movies, PlayStation Video, people would think it was for PlayStation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the thing. No, we'll get into the Windows Phone stuff in a sec. That's just a tease. A little bit of a tease. But yeah, anything else on Groove?
No, other than the fact it's a pretty groovy.
We each get one. Everybody gets one. I saw the memes. Austin Powers doing his little thing.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think
another thing people were mad at is that Microsoft did a terrible job at communicating what it was actually called. Was it Groove or was it Groove Music? It's the same thing. It's kind of both. It's called Groove. Here's what I was told as when I asked. It's called. I was asked this the other day, and I think I did say it on Twitter. But on the start menu and on the operating system, it will be called Groove Music, so users know that it's the music app. But the actual service is just Groove.
Right.
And eventually, they will get rid of that music word in the app and just replace it with Groove, because why not?
Doesn't the logo have? It looks kind of like a G.
Yeah, people said this, and it actually does look like a G.
See, this is what I mean. People are like, Microsoft sucks at advertising, which they do, kinda. Most of their adverts are not that great, but when they do things that actually make sense strictly from a marketing perspective, it's a bit odd to see people backlash. I'm like, you can't simultaneously say Apple is famous because of marketing, and then these types of things, and then anything that Microsoft does that's based on marketing is a bad decision. I mean, I know there isn't a commercial for Groove, and it isn't popular yet because it isn't officially a thing until it's like officially released, but it's a bit odd to me that people are like, we like marketing, and then it's like, well, they tried this new name that's trendy, doesn't have the word Xbox in it, looks like a G in the logo. They're like, no, can't have any of that.
No G's.
No G's in the Groove Music. Anyway, so Zach, I hope you enjoyed the podcast because it's all about the same topic from now.
Yeah.
So can I tell you a story that happened this week?
That's before we begin this. It's been a very bad week for Microsoft news, hasn't it?
Bad in what way?
Just Microsoft announcing the death of a number of apps, we're about to talk about all the changes they're making internally. And just a lot of bad things.
$7.6 billion write-off.
Exactly. Not a good week for those at Microsoft.
Not a great week for those over at Redmond. Yeah, I'm not as pessimistic as some, but a lot of this is just bad news.
Yeah.
Zach, I had a joke, but now I'm going to have to save it for later.
Oh, okay.
I can't switch from that to my not so funny joke.
It's just say, look, guys, that the build is still downloading. It's 14%. It's actually installing. It's not downloading no more. So I'm getting there.
There you go.
Yes, my phone is boiling, by the way. It's actually burning my hand.
Really? Even through the case?
I took the case off because I'm worried it's just gonna heat up and turn off.
Put that thing in the fridge. Could you do that, or would that damage it?
Yeah, you can put it in the fridge for a little while. I used to always do that when I used to like be in the sun for a long period of time, and because a phone does have a shutdown mechanism when it overheats. Usually, when a phone overheats, they just say, "Hello, I'm too hot. Please put me in a cool area," and I just put it in the fridge for 10 minutes.
Made a dragon want to retire, man. Too hot. That's why the Welsh flag was actually taken down the other day. It was too hot, so they had to retire the dragon on the flag.
Wow.
True story. Not really. Anyway, so bad news on the Windows side. Microsoft had to realign their phone business. They'd already done that in the terms of like structuring with Terry Myerson and stuff, but even more so than that in terms of what the actual devices are going to be. So lots of components to this story. Component one, there are 7,800 jobs that are being cut, and a lot of them are from Europe, and a lot of them are from the phone division. That makes somewhat sense based on the news that we previously had. We talked about these potential layoffs anyway last week. Because they combined the hardware all into one thing. I think they're trying to trim down in that area quite a bit. But even more so than the fact that they may have had two people doing similar things and now they're one hardware division, they're also trimming down the number of Lumias that are going to be made. And so they are going to be focusing on, 3 segments? Let me get a couple quotes here. Let me get a first thing here. The whole basis of this, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, said, "We are moving from a strategy to grow a standalone phone business to a strategy to grow and create a vibrant Windows ecosystem, including our first-party devices." Nadella said, "In the near term, we'll run a more effective and focused phone portfolio while retaining capability for long-term reinvention in mobility." So a little bit of jargon in there. I don't really like jargon in emails like that. Just tell us what's happening. But in any event, I guess that's our job. They're going to be focusing on 3. What do they got? They got flagships, which are actually coming. Yay!
Yes,
they have
I'm excited.
Business, which is a thing, and then the low-end market, right? Those are the 3.
Didn't they say value phones?
Okay, if that's the term they're going with. We'll go with value phones.
Value phones.
I think we're going to go with low-end, but if they want us to say value phone, I guess I'll say
I mean, technically, they're not changing much. The only difference here is that they're going to release small flagships. Because they've already released a bunch of value phones.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, didn't we say like 2 weeks ago on the podcast that what we wanted from Lumia was high, medium, low, small, and extra large? That's like what we wanted. And now there's rumors that Microsoft is only going to be making 5 to 6 devices for the next couple years. That's all they've kind of committed to is the rumor. We don't know. That part's speculation, but that's what we asked for, isn't it? Didn't we ask for them to consolidate the lines and not be so complicated?
Mm-hmm. But many people are taking this news as this is the beginning of the end for Windows Phone, which is interesting.
But they're doing what we all said like a month ago.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I get the layoffs part, and I get the I didn't report this. $7.6 billion write-down, which is a big deal. There are business aspects to why they want to do that. They were going to have to lose $7.6 billion anyway. That's going to happen. It's when they lose it. Is it on the books for this year or on the books for the next fiscal year? If they get them off now, when Windows 10 comes out, if they make any money, they can be like, bam, look, Windows 10 came out, then we made this much money. But if they split it over the next few years, then it might look like they actually lost money after Windows 10 came out. Flip side of that is you're about to launch Windows 10. Why would you write down $7.6 billion that you're going to lose anyway? Why not do it next year? So there's sides to both of this. Like, I see where people are coming from, but
the results of all of this week's news is definitely that of Satya Nadella's in charge now. He is Bulmer is out the window.
Bam.
He is everything Bulmer did is no longer in play at Microsoft. Nadella's written off the Nokia transition. He's changing up the Windows Phone line. He's put all the Windows and devices grouped together. It's a lot of things are going on at Microsoft. I think all Nadella's trying to do is he's trying to streamline everything at the company. I know Bourne tried to do a similar thing, but he did it kind of, I guess, not as good as Nadella's trying to do it. Nadella's trying to shrink and focus, if you know what I mean. Trying to focus.
I view this as a positive.
Yes, it's not a negative. They've got to get rid of some of the bad to focus on the new. That does not mean firing 7,800 employees. They are not bad at all. That is just unfortunate. I'm talking about services and, all of the actual products and stuff. I'm not talking about the actual people. It's very unfortunate that 7,800 people have to lose their jobs over, over Satya Nadella realigning and rejiggling, I guess, the company. But them focusing on, killing the bunch of apps, which I don't think we're going to talk about today, but they killed off health and fitness, photosynth, a number of
food and health,
a number of MSN apps that nobody used. And I mean, they had people there working on those apps who could be used in other areas doing other things.
I liked photosynth, for the record. That's not going to be a full topic for us today.
No,
but,
yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I wish it wasn't going away. Yeah, I mean, we've said this now. I think we just talked about this strictly from business perspective. Feel bad for people. I'm sure they're very qualified. Sure hope they find new jobs. I mean that genuinely. From a business perspective, I don't have a big issue with this.
No,
I think there were too many Lumias. There was 400 line all the way. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 15.
And then
there was a point.
Different models
people say, "What's
within them?" Different models within those numbers. It's
exactly.
just crazy.
The 535 is still being advertised, even though the 540 is out. The 540 comes out, and the 640 is also out, but people don't know which one's better. Because the 640 has some better specs, but the 540 is a better front-facing camera, because the 540 has a 5-megapixel front-facing camera, which you might consider a mid-range feature, but that's a relatively low-end phone. But the 640 doesn't, even though it's supposed to be a higher-end phone. But in other specs, it's better. And so it's just I don't understand all these lies. I mean, like I said, we've looked through these. They're complicated. You try to tell your friend which phone they want. If they said, "I'm willing to spend £200 on a phone, I want to get a Lumia. What do I get?" And you just we might be able to help them, but even explaining it to them might be a little confused. Oh, what do you put? Front facing over this, glance over that.
If I was a normal consumer and I walked into a store looking for a Lumia, and the person there came over and said, "Okay, here's all the Windows phones. Here's the 430, the 435, the 530, the 535, the 536, whatever else, 730, 830, 930. Here's all of the Windows phones. There'd be a million devices on the table, and I wouldn't know what to choose. I'd feel intimidated by the amount of options there are, and I wouldn't know which ones to pick, which one's the best, which one's good for me. And then over on the wall, I'd see an iPhone 6 and an iPhone 5. The iPhone 6 is obviously the newest one. Okay, I'm going to get the iPhone 6.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think it's great. You got flagship. I hope there's two, small and large. Like the iPhone does that too.
Right, yeah.
iPhone 6, 6XL. I hope they make, similar to the 930, 15, 20, but probably with a unified name and then an XL after it, because that's what they did with the 640, 640 XL. So, and then I guess they'll need to keep super value phones. We might actually see a phone like the 540 kind of merge with the 640 line, I think, where you see a 5-megapixel front-facing camera on a 640-like device, because you need a value phone. You can't, they're selling, some of their best-selling phones are the really low-end price range, right. And so they can't price people out. They do need a value phone that's actually a value, not a 5. So it needs to be somewhere between the Asha line and the 435.
I wouldn't say that low.
Really? You think 540?
Maybe between the 430 and the 630, because the 630 is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And I guess the 530, the 535 is a good device. I like the 535. Yeah. Around there would be nice, because that's you can buy the 535 for less than £100.
Okay, well then they could do that, but just make it new. So yeah. So I think it's great.
Also, don't get us wrong. It's a shame that they have to cut down all these devices, because let's be fair, Microsoft do make some nice devices. I bought a Lumia 735 the other day, which is just a normal mid-range Lumia, but it's really nice. It's one of the nicest Lumias I've ever held and actually played with. The screen is crisp and it's super cheap. What did I get it for? I got it from the Microsoft store, so 180 quid I think it was. Yeah. Not bad for a mid-ranger, and it does a lot of things. It's great, and I really like it for a cheap mid-range device.
Right, and that's what I mean is, the 640, theoretically lower end than the 735, though it is newer. Similar experience for me. I think it's great. I think the 640 proved to me that I don't need a flagship phone as a person. I know there are features some people need, and that's great. But for me as an everyday consumer, I didn't need it. And so, yeah, I think it gets really confusing. And then also, you got to convince stores to stock this stuff. Verizon just started stocking the Lumia 735 this week. It's been out for a year or longer. And it came out this week for Verizon. Microsoft can come in there and say, we know you don't love Windows Phone. Put in these three. Small, medium, large. Or if you're just Verizon, don't even put the budget one in. Just put in like mid, high-end, extra large high-end. Just put in these three. That's all we want. Instead of 17 different phones.
I'm definitely looking forward to the streamlined Lumia product line. And to be fair, I'm not entirely convinced. I know people are telling me that I'm completely wrong for thinking this, but I'm not entirely convinced the Lumia branding is the right Lumia branding for the flagships. I'm convinced they should use the Surface branding for the higher-end device. But every time I mention that, I'm told that I'm stupid and that I should just never join the marketing team, and I'm like, okay. I mean, that's my opinion. I think they should, for the flagship, they should have the Lumia line. The branding should be mid to low end, because that's kind of the idea it has. And I know that's a bad thing to say, but I don't know if you get this, but here in the UK, when I mention the Lumia, they just think of cheap plastic phones, because that's what they kind of are. The majority of them are, minus the 930, the 925. And that, I mean, the 1520, the highest end Lumia you can get, is a plastic phone. It's not got any metal. It's plastic.
Yeah,
sure, it's high quality, but it's still a plastic phone.
Yeah, I could see why one of it's just a change. Whether it's Surface, which we associate with high-end stuff, I don't know if that translates to people who don't use it. I've seen people point out Surface is only liked amongst certain groups. I have no idea. I'm not a market research guy. I don't know if I polled 10,000 folks what they would feel the Surface line is. I don't know. You'd have to do testing. That's what Microsoft pays people to do.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to pay me, no.
But this is the thing. Again, here in the UK, the Surface line is a premium line, and people know that. And
so to me, it could be Surface. I think new is a big thing. If you're coming up with new phones, new branding might be a nice thing. I know people don't always like name changes, but I think if the perception of Lumia is cheap, maybe the flagship should have a different name. Or instead of numbers, you could call it the Lumia Surface.
No, it doesn't
Lumia
have
Surface
to be
2, Lumia Surface 3, every generation, something like that. I don't know.
It doesn't have to be a name change. It can just be a new product.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, this is the Lumia 940, now known as the Surface phone. It can just be
they should never say that.
A new device.
Yeah. So, to me, and we talk about this. You and I have a lot of friends that talk about this. We have coworkers. So I'm trying to get both sides of it, to get a little bit of devil's advocate. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of the arguments that people brought up with this realignment and the write-down and the layoffs are things that they already had gripes with about Windows Phone that are now just being focused on because of the bad publicity.
Right.
So people say app gap. Who's going to want to develop apps? Well, to me, that's already a problem. That was a problem with 20 Lumias. It's going to be a problem with 5 Lumias.
And Microsoft is trying to battle this issue with the Universal App Platform,
and that's what I mean. Universal apps and web apps and Win32. They're trying to fix it.
Here's the thing.
That's not specific to this news, though.
No, yeah, exactly. It's true.
It doesn't. The write-down has nothing to do with the app gap. I mean, it might be a result of the app gap, to be blunt, but it certainly isn't the cause of it.
The app gap is an interesting one as well, because Microsoft thinks with Windows 10 they can fix it for Windows Phone, because the Universal App Platform encourages developers to build for the desktop and the phone at the same time, with very little code changes. If there's 1 billion people using Windows 10 on the PC, that means developers are going to be interested in the platform, and therefore results in more apps for Windows Phone, because the Universal App Platform allows that. So developers may not be interested in Windows Phone, but if they're interested in Windows 10, Windows Phone gets apps anyway.
Yep.
So it's kind of a genius idea, the whole Universal App Platform, I think.
And here's the thing for me, and I've said this before, I will say it again. I don't think Windows Phone is going to work for at least, which weight is okay in the UK, 2 years? You got to be careful. If I flip my hand around, very vulgar in the UK. Yes, it's 2 years. They're going to keep it either on life support or it's going to start succeeding on its own because things we've already talked about. Continuum, Windows 10 Mobile, new platforms, new flagships, et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to kill it this year. I don't think they're going to kill it next year. They'll probably reevaluate in 2017. Now, does that mean that in 2020 there won't be Windows 10 Mobile? I don't know. I don't work for Microsoft. I don't predict the future. I don't see any way that they're going to cancel it now, though. So that's the thing. People are like, Windows Phone is already dead. My joke is going to be that my phone disappeared for anyone curious, but it's right here. Like, it's still being supported. It's getting a new operating system later this year. They're coming out with flagships later this year. They have to ride those out and see if they fail. And then if they do, reevaluate. And then also see, has any other OEM picked up the slack? So we had a poll this week, actually. That's a pretty good segue. Can I get the poll results?
Absolutely.
So we polled the folks on this. Let me get this open on my phone here. We had 2,027 votes, our highest voted poll ever. Of course, it wasn't labeled for the podcast, but I did it, so I'm using it. Let's see. What does Microsoft's phone restructuring mean for Windows Phone? The options were Microsoft is more committed to Windows Phone than ever. Phones will play a role but not be important. Other OEMs will pick up the slack. Windows Phone is doomed. 46% of people, which is the largest percentage getter, said Microsoft is more committed to Windows Phone than ever. So 46% said they're more committed, not less. 24% said they'll play a role but won't be important, and which means that they'll still be alive. 9% said other OEMs will pick up the slack, and 21% said Windows Phone is doomed. So more than 60% think that Windows Phone is going to exist. 46 of those think Microsoft's more committed than ever. 24 thinking other OEMs are going to pick up the slack. So I know that's not the whole world, but at least from our fan base, they seem like they seem to think
Microsoft withdrawing from the hardware market, like not releasing as many Lumias, is kind of Microsoft giving way to OEMs, saying, "Hey, right, we're taking these devices out of the picture. Please, can you replace it with your own devices?" Because as an OEM, if you was an OEM and I was Microsoft and I had in the market 98% or 97%, I think, 97% of the Windows Phone market share, and you wanted a Windows Phone device in that mix, would you go Windows or would you go? No, you wouldn't. So Microsoft is taking away some of their devices and are leaving room for OEM to say, all right, there's room here for you now. Please make devices. We beg you. Windows Phone 10 phone is going to be great. Please, etc., etc., etc. And yes, I mean, a good counter-argument to that, Tim says, OEMs aren't going to do anything. Regardless of whether Microsoft withdraw from the market, Windows Phone is still only 3% worldwide.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Windows Phone's guaranteed to succeed. I'm not even saying it's guaranteed to be here 5 years from now. I'm saying for 2 years, it's not going anywhere, in my opinion. And so people are they want it to die today, I think. I honestly think people like news. So they're just like, I want Windows Phone to go away right now. And it's like,
no,
it's here for at least a couple years. I think most people just need to consign themselves to the fact that Microsoft's going to keep pouring money into this at least long enough to know that it failed on all fronts. The Universal App Platform failed. The other things failed. So,
I'm upgrading my Lumia 930 to Windows 10. Windows Phone is not going anywhere for a little while.
I think for a little while. I think at least 2 years. I would place a bet. I'm not a betting man, so not for money, but bragging rights or some sort of small bit joke. I guess I'm open to a bet, but not money or anything. I don't do that. But I don't know. I'd love to if it's still here in 2 years and the market share's gone up rather than down, I get to troll people or something. I probably will anyway, but get to do it with their consent.
4% market share next year.
How much?
4% next year.
That would be an improvement.
It would be.
I want to know what number. What number do you think Windows Phone market share would have to be at before people were happy?
10%.
Globally.
10%.
10%?
Yeah.
10% global, they'd be cool?
Nobody would truly be happy unless Windows 10 Mobile is at 10% worldwide.
That's reasonable that's a reasonable line, 10%. It's not... I mean...
And
worldwide,
it's an impressive percent as well, considering Apple and Android. Android takes the majority of, but
80 something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Apple's only 20. If we can halve the Apple market share, that's good enough.
Yeah, I think so.
But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Microsoft has a lot to do with Windows 10, and with the Windows 10 as a vision needs Windows 10 Mobile.
Yeah. I would say one thing, and some people in the comments are saying this, including our very own Kareem, about OEMs. I'm not really sure how many OEMs are going to jump on the Windows Phone boat pretty much no matter what. I mean, I'd love to see it.
I'm not seeing it happen straight away. I mean, now they've withdrawn. I don't see Samsung going, okay, here's a new Windows Phone. Not yet.
I'd love to see it. I wish they would do that. I think it would help. I wish it would help if someone other than Microsoft made a Windows Phone, which I know there are some like HTC, but even more, or the latest HTC, because there's now an HTC One M9, but not One M9 for Windows. But there was a One M8 for Windows, which to me is a negative sign. So you see what I mean? I would love to see it. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I mean, I hope that it gets better. I like my Windows Phone. I like the Windows operating system. I like Windows 10. I hope that they're all connected and still here. So I hope it's better.
I don't want to have to buy an Android device just to use Windows services.
Yeah,
Please.
Exactly. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't hate Android and Apple. I just prefer Windows. Like, that's just me. Anyway, anything? Let's see here.
Sure. Project Westminster.
That's a thing. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, Project Westminster is, I believe, one of the bridges for Windows Phone or Windows Universal Apps on Windows Phone and the desktop. Project Westminster is the web app side of that. So with this, I think it went into preview. I can't actually open the link on my Surface, so I'm going to have to just win this. But the Project Westminster thing is a developer tool for developers, obviously, that allows them to recompile their web apps into actual apps that run natively on Windows 10 and Windows 10 Mobile. So a website can recompile into a web app. Developers do a little amount of code to get that happening, and then they publish it to the Windows Store, and then consumers can download their web app from the Windows Store and install it onto their system and run it natively. That's all this is, and this is just the preview of it. I believe it's in preview. It's the first of, I think, is it 4 Bridge SDKs? So they got the web apps one, you got the Android one, you got the iOS one,
and the Win32 one,
and the so it's one of 4. So yeah, I mean, this is the start of the Universal App Platform, and it's very exciting.
I don't know a lot about this. We got a lot of programmers in the comments, which I appreciate because I know you know more than me on this sort of stuff, as you probably know more than me on lots of things. When they use Project Westminster, does that work for all Windows apps, like the whole Universal Platform?
No,
or
I think they've all got different code names, and I think they're all separate tools as a plane going by.
So Project Westminster would be developing an app for
it'll be developing
Windows
a web
tablets.
App, or taking a website or a web app and recompiling it for the
tablets, though, right?
No, it can run on desktop as well.
Can it run on phone, though?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's a big deal for me then. Because I think someone like Bank of America, or any bank that doesn't have a Windows Phone app, I don't have a list.
Yeah, Kareem says it perfectly there. It's a bridge that beefs up web apps. That's all it does.
Yeah, okay, great. I'd love web apps. If it helps, like that's the thing. The app gap that people talk about is also very personal. I completely understand this. If you run a small business and you run it from your phone and you can't because apps aren't available, that 100% justified to not jump on Windows platform. 100% get that. And so if this helps bridge the gap, great. I'm all for it. Like I hope that people do it. It can't be that hard. Like programming folks that know much more than me. Does this actually look like something people will actually use? And then also Zach, what do you think? Do you think people actually use this?
I mean, developers. I mean, think of it like this: Spotify. I think Spotify's got a Windows app already, but if they don't, they could technically just take the website they already have and recompile, and not recompile. Team Gnome, yes, you can recompiling an app. You still compile an app regardless of what code it's running. Anyway, or maybe I'm wrong on. No, I'm not wrong on that. I don't think. But regardless, they take their web code, they make it into a web app, and put it on the Windows Store. 10-minute job done. I mean, that's the lazy way. Obviously, they could. I mean, I'd much rather them take their Android app and do it from there. But that's pretty much what the web app allows.
Yeah, I would hope so. It's too bad there's so many different coding languages. Maybe they're good because they do different things, but from like a consumer perspective, it's kind of frustrating. From the programmers, maybe they do different, specialized. But it's kind of like. From a consumer perspective, I think it'd be great if we all spoke one language. But from like a world perspective, it's kind of cool that people speak French and English and Spanish and stuff. So yeah, we'll see if people pick it up. We'll see what kind of apps pick it up. Will it be banks? Will it be games? Who knows?
We could pick it up. We could turn the website into a web app.
Oh, sweet! We should do that.
And we can have notifications and whatever.
Like right now. We should totally do
right,
that. We should stop the podcast.
Right, bye guys. We're going to make an app. Bye. No.
So in any event, okay. Well, Project Westminster. There you go.
Yes.
Programming folks, please. I'm trying to be more active in the comments today.
Yeah, I've got it up. I'm reading them all.
We have a lot more we have really smart listeners that listen in live. We also have smart listeners who can't listen in live. I get that too. But here we get the direct, immediate feedback. So yeah, please let us know. Let me see here. There you go. I'm out of stories for real news.
Do you want to talk about the Terminator one?
I do. I want to tell people about it.
You can talk about it.
All right. I will do my best. This is about Terminator Genesis. New Terminator
try not to
film.
spoil the plot.
I will do my best to not say anything spoilery. I just think it's funny that it is clearly sponsored by Microsoft. So it's a movie about, if you've seen any Terminator film, I'll use previous terms and stuff so I don't reveal any plot from the current one. Skynet, which is in every Terminator film in the past, is a computer program that runs the world. And they put in Microsoft into a film about that plot. I just think it's hilarious. And it's obvious, too, because we were talking about this before. If someone has a certain phone, like an iPhone or Android in a movie, it could be product placement, maybe. But like we just talked about, tons of people use those devices. So if someone's just like on an iPhone, unless the camera's like, bam, this is an iPhone, pay attention, it might not be product placement. I don't know. But with the Lumia, with the bright colors and the fact that less than 3% global market share, and if it's a movie in the US, like just really low, all that sort of thing, what was I going to say? It's kind of obvious when it's in there. So there's a bright yellow Lumia, and my girlfriend and I are watching the film. She's nudging me every time. Oh, look, there's a Windows Phone, and we notice. And then the plot of the film is about a robot taking over the world, and I don't want to spoil anything else. Just listen to me when you want. I like Terminator Genesis. That's not like a movie endorsement, not a movie. Well, it is, but it's not like a movie channel. So but just me personally, I enjoyed it. You'll probably laugh when you just go in there thinking Microsoft sponsored this. And then watch the film, and then you'll see a ton of different Microsoft things. You find it quite funny.
I love it. I love it when you can pinpoint Microsoft product placement.
That's great.
It's just so obvious. It's never not obvious with Microsoft stuff. I mean, when the Surface RT first came out, there was a TV program in America that aired, and it had the Surface RT, and it's like they're doing their dialogue, and then they're like, let's quickly check on the internet. So they grab the Surface RT, close up of the kickstand coming out, and the click in, and just quickly type. Look, I can tell you are advertising the Surface right here. It's you can't never do it subtly.
It's like my joke ads where The Rock's like, I have a Windows Phone. You can't really do that. You can't be using your tablet, and then they're like, oh no, Sean, you can't do that. We can't use apps to do this task. We need a computer. And you're like, wait a minute. This is also a computer. Let me pull out my stylus that works well and integrates. You can't do that. You got to be a little more subtle.
Yeah. I mean, next it'll be, how people says, oh, quick, go and get me your phone in a TV show or something. They grab the phone. Next it'll be, oh, go and get the Windows Phone quickly. I need to take a look at Windows Mobile.
Please go get the new Lumia Surface XL. And they'll be like, with the one with the kickstand? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the one with the kickstand in the bright orange. Go and get it quick. Microsoft. Never failed to amaze.
This is why, I don't know. It's fun. I'll just say this. If you see Terminator Genesis, thinking of Microsoft sponsoring it, it will add a whole new layer to you giggling throughout the film.
Even when it's not a funny scene.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I'm not going to spoil it now. I'm not even offline because you haven't seen it yet.
It's just they're going to take over the world. This is it. This is how it all ends. And they cut to a Lumia, and then you're on the seat going, it's a Lumia.
Well, there's because there's just plot devices that happen. There's lines that are said where you're just like, if. Anyway, I won't tell now. Maybe in a month or two, when everyone's seen it or won't see it ever, then I'll say it again. So there's that. But yeah, Terminator Genesis, that's my fun story of the week. You have any fun stories this week?
I don't.
No?
I'm never good at fun stories.
No? We'll have to find some. So I help people tweet Zach your fun stories throughout the week.
Well, good news is I've almost finished upgrading.
Yeah?
Getting there. Phone's still baking.
Now, my question for you is, are we going to do it as part of the after party, where then you just jump back in and you do it, or you can do a separate video?
I'll probably do a separate video.
Oh, man. Could have skyrocketed our views.
Maybe.
Anyway.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right, then. Well,
Anyway,
then we will...
podcast listeners who are listening to the rebroadcast, this is the end for you.
This is the end of the world. Judgment Day is inevitable, as the commenters who say. As I saw a commenter that said maybe Microsoft could go back in time and change some mistakes they've made with Windows Mobile.
Yes. Get in the market earlier than they did.
Exactly. Oh, or they could just do our thing. They could take like a phone, not like too far, just like take like the flagship that comes out later this year and just have it come out like a year or two ago. That's it. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Windows 10, replace Windows 8 with Windows 10, something like that.
That'll work great.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I guess we'll wrap up. This has been the WinBeta Podcast, episode 23 for the week of July 10th. As always, you can find us here on YouTube. You also listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, all sorts of apps and that sort of thing, tune in, etc., etc. Join us live every week, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Daylight Time? Is that right? EDT? We'll go with EDT.
Yeah.
And that you can find me, Sean Michael, on Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And you can find Zach on Twitter at
ZachB_.
And you can find WinBeta on Twitter at WinBetaDOT.org. So there you go for all the latest Windows news, including builds. In fact, one very soon, you might see a mobile build video. Stay tuned to WinBeta, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.